What's going on, everyone? In today's episode, I'm going to show you the 3 root crops you need to be starting right now in mid to late February. Let's go. So the first thing you need to do before we even get into these 3 varieties is you need to get yourself some good quality seed starting mix or potting mix. Pre-moisten it and fill yourself some containers. Now I use some holeless seed trays here. You could use a wash tub. Really whatever is going to hold some soil, because we are going to be filling it up with dampened soil, because essentially what we are going to be doing are forcing growth. We're forcing growth from these root crops because that is how they grow. Now, once you've gotten your trays filled, you're going to grab your root crops. Now, the 3 root crops I got from the grocery store, believe it or not. These 3 different root crops, you can go to any grocery store and find. Now, I prefer them to be organic simply because non-organic or conventionally grown produce oftentimes is sprayed with lots of chemicals, but also sprout inhibitors. Sprout inhibitors are essentially an enzyme that gets sprayed onto the surface of whatever vegetable it is, and it prevents it from forming eyes or growing, which that usually ends up shortening the lifespan or the shelf life of the product. And since stores might hold on to that perishable product for an extended period of time, it helps to buy some time until someone purchases it. So I prefer to go organic. The shelf life is going to be a lot less, but you're not going to have any sprout inhibitors. Now, these 3 different crops that you are going to want to start are turmeric, sweet potatoes, and ginger. Now, the great thing with this is that you can start all 3 of these exactly the same way. Now, how they grow is going to be a little bit different, but the way that you grow them is exactly the same. Coming in close, I'll show you what you need to look for when picking out your root crops from the grocery store. Don't spend a lot on them. You don't have to. Just make sure they're organic. Also, make sure they're fresh. When forcing ginger, the first thing you want to look for is you want to look for shiny new growth. Any plump, shiny new growth is going to have a lot of viability in them. Typically, the tips should be nice and firm. They shouldn't be dried and wrinkly. They also should not have a really kind of raisiny skin. If it's really wrinkly and dried, that oftentimes will not have enough moisture and just won't have as much viability. But these little knobs here, the little fingers on the end of the ginger, are nice and firm. If you take your finger and scrape it, like I did there at the grocery store, it'll show that it's green. Green is great. You don't want it to be white, or you don't want it to be kind of yellow in color. It should be nice and green, and that means it's tender and young. And this is going to produce a really nice, basically whole new ginger plant. Now, the ginger plant is going to produce more of the same ginger roots from the rhizome. So all you're doing is essentially taking this to start a new plant and get more of the same thing. It's a great way to multiply plants. And what's really great is you could actually take a knife and cut off a section, use the rest, and keep regrowing it from one tiny little finger of ginger. So that is ginger. Up next is turmeric root. Now, when it comes to turmeric root, it is also a rhizome, much like ginger. Now, the same rules apply to when you're looking for fresh ginger. You also can apply that to looking for fresh turmeric. Now, sometimes if you get them from the grocery store, you'll have the tips be a little bit dry. Like that broke off really easily, and that's not typically what you want to look for, but it just came in a bag of a bunch of others. This is a whole lot better. This has got that nice shiny skin. It's nice and firm. It's not wrinkly. It's not pruned, but the other end was dry. This is another great example here. It's nice and firm. It's a little on the old side. It's got some leatheriness. It's got a little bit of sponginess, but this should actually grow just fine. This one here is a prime example of one that's a little too far gone. It's got great color, but it's just so dry. It's so dry. Here's another one you can see. This one's got some wrinkliness to it. I mean, look at how it's just so spongy. Those ones I would avoid, but again, it just came in a bag. I mean, I got a bag of a bunch of them, but there are 2 very great ones. This one is awesome. This one will grow no problem at all. We also have these 2 here. This one's a little bit, that one I wouldn't probably plant. You could eat those, no problem, but this is a great one. This is a phenomenal one. This is probably the best one out of the whole bag. Nice shiny skin, very, very thin skin. It's orange underneath. It's not super dried. Nice firm texture. That's what you want to look for with turmeric. Now, turmeric comes in a wide variety of shapes and sizes. I prefer, if they're sold in bulk, to pick my own, because I'm not going to be getting the ones that are dried and trivially. But for $3.50, you really can't go wrong getting some nice organic turmeric from the grocery store. And last but not least are sweet potatoes. Now, these are tubers, not rhizomes. These are actually an energy store that the plant is using to grow next year. So it stores energy in these tubers here. And all you want to make sure of is that they are not really soft and shrivelly. You want to make sure that just like all the others, they are nice and firm. The ends can be a little bit wrinkly, but as long as the main root is nice and firm, you should be fine. It's got great color, great texture. These will go great. And these are also organic as well. All right, and here is where the magic happens. Follow me on this. It is so simple. You're gonna think that there's a catch, but there's really no catch. It's just this simple. We do this all the time and it's so reliable. Take your sweet potatoes, throw it into the soil here. You wanna wiggle it down about halfway, and now you have good contact with the soil. As you spray these and keep them damp, they're naturally gonna force that growth, and you've essentially created slips. Those slips can be separated, put into a cup of water. They will root just fine. Once they form roots, throw them out into the garden or throw them into a pot of soil, and you're gonna be great. Now, if you haven't noticed already, it is dripping like crazy in here. That's because it's thawing, and when it thaws, it drips down the peaks. So if it looks like it's raining inside, that's what's happening. It technically is. All right, next is ginger. Same exact procedure. Again, like I said, you'd think it's so simple, there's gotta be a catch. There isn't. Take it, wiggle it down halfway into the soil. You don't need to completely bury ginger. Now, once you plant it in the ground, yes, it's better to have it completely buried, but this actually is totally fine to just put it just below the soil surface. You can still see it just fine. That is great. It'll force new growth. When that new growth grows, the roots will grow down, the growth will grow up, and then you can either divide it or plant it right out into the garden, just bury it a little bit, and you'll be awesome. And you get the trend here. Turmeric, same thing. Take it, wiggle it in the soil. You just want good contact, but you don't need to bury it. You can bury it. I find there is no benefit to burying it whatsoever. And I find, honestly, I get sometimes even better results just by burying it halfway. Put it in just like that. And all we're going to do is we're going to mist this to keep it nice and damp. And because they do like darkness for the first couple weeks until they start to grow, I'm gonna take another hole of seed tray, pop it on top, and I will just check this. I'll check this after about a week. I'll check it, make sure it's nice and damp, keep watering it, but I'll cover it up until I start to see growth. After I see growth, then I'm gonna remove this, give it nice light, and I'll let it grow for a couple weeks, just like this, with all the growth happening just like this. I'll let it grow. It'll force roots down into this growing medium. It'll be totally fine. With the big mistake so many gardeners make is overwatering this. If you overwater this and you keep it any more than just damp, if it's too wet, your tubers and your rhizomes will rot. If you keep it just damp, they're gonna root, they're gonna force growth, it'll be awesome, and you will be having a ball. It'd be great. It's so easy to grow these. These are 3 ones that you absolutely have to get started early because they take a long time to grow. And because these take a long time to grow, you want to start them early. Otherwise, you're not going to get a harvest by the end of the season. These are also ones that you can grow, take indoors at the end of the season as well, and just keep replicating them, which is so easy. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all learned something new. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And once these get growing and are ready to transplant, we're going to move them into some pots and get them ready to go into the garden. So I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger. Take care. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you for your viewership because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting MIgardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care. Bye.